Finals, the Celtics CLNS Postgame show brought to you by CarShield. And man, it's one game, but you don't know what kind of effect it's going to have on the whole series. But this was a really rough one for the Celtics to lose. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff here. Josue Pavone, Jimmy Toscano, Bobby Manning. But, let's work backwards here into late game execution, starting with the Celtics blowing a 14. This is a coffee for closers sort of game here, okay? Yeah. This was a 14-point fourth quarter lead. Again, not valuing possessions and not getting good shots and basically stopping running any semblance of offense that didn't involve Tatum or Kemba dribbling the crap out of the ball till very late in the shot clock, heaving threes or contested twos, not just with a lead, but when they needed buckets. It's very emblematic of how the game ended. Celtics didn't. Jimmy Butler goes to the rack, gets an and one. Celtics had been settling for crappy jumpers. Finally, Tatum goes in, makes a great move. Honestly, that's one of the best blocks I can remember in a long time, so it's hard to fault him for that. He did everything right. I might not have tried to dunk it there. There were two possessions late there.
Jalen going in. You can't dunk, man. Of course
I have dunked, but I couldn't do that. But that being said,
you could dunk. That's true. My bad.
I've dunked. I couldn't dunk. I've
you almost did at the Garden. That's pretty impressive.
Anyway,
years ago. Yeah, Dunkin' Donuts.
Off we go. So here we go, guys. What's the late game execution? And again, we talked about this in the thread. Tatum having a solid game, and then really just not being impressive as the guy who's going to close it for you down the stretch. And I think that's what it's going to come down to here. Is they needed him to get buckets, and he couldn't. And Kemba was awful all freaking game again. So, Josue, start with you.
I didn't hate his approach, though. I'm with you. I'm a little disappointed. I thought he had a couple of shots that were makeable shots, Tatum-like shots. He, got into the paint. He did what everyone wanted him to do, right? Everyone was tired of seeing Kemba chuck up three-pointers. People weren't too great. Obviously it was great to see Marcus Smart, what he was doing behind the arc. He saved them, by the way, in that third quarter. But no one wanted to keep seeing that. Everyone was like, get the ball to Tatum, watch him put the ball on the floor. Walker did it once. Tatum tried to do it one time. He missed a really good look. And then in that last play, I was thinking to myself, I would do the same exact thing if I'm Jason Tatum. Go for the dunk because you're thinking to yourself, if you go for the dunk, he's going to either slap you or it's a dunk. I just think Tatum, it was just unfortunate that those convert. He was unable to convert. But his approach, I have no problem with that.
I'm saying prior to that, there was there's a lot of just
the last. Kemba Walker, who you're thinking of. Kemba Walker drove me crazy, draining the shot.
Kemba was all the dribbling. Yeah, Kemba was awful.
In the corner when there's only 3 seconds left. No, that's not it.
Hey, Kemba had the shots late though. The key shot in overtime to tie it.
One.
You're right. I should use the singular, but
it was a big shot though.
I can name multiple Tatum shots down the stretch that were just mind-blowing. Up three, heaving the three off balance, gets stopped inside with Butler all over him. And the last play of the game was worst of all. They get a gift. Technical foul on Jones.
That was crazy.
And that's exactly.
And then they have 22 seconds left to get 1 point. All they need was a trip to the free throw line, and they would have had the lead. And
they stand there
4 steps behind the line at the buzzer after draining 20 shots. Do you think that's what Stevens wanted? I can't imagine it was.
And that's what we were texting. This is what kills you this is what kills me on that possession. I feel like Paul Pierce had about 40,000 of those in his career.
He did.
But at least he'd shoot it from close.
In the worst years. We don't even want to talk about those years.
But at least he'd shoot it close. And he shot about 8% on those, okay?
Right.
But at least, Pierce would get you to the elbow and pull up there. Tatum's drifting behind the three-point line. With 4 seconds left, there's nothing left to do there but the step-back three. So everybody knows it's coming. You have to threaten going to the basket. If you're floating side to side and all you're going to do is set them up for the step-back, everyone knows it's there. So you're going to be shooting a contested shot because people can overplay it. And it was such a wasted opportunity. You're right. Yes, a point gets it for you. Go to the basket.
Right. It almost feels like
or work it, right? You can't get the open look. But why every single person in the stadium? I mean, there's 8 people. Deuce knew it was coming. Everybody knew it was coming. All 30 people, but it's coming.
No, it wasn't quite a LeBron.
Before that, before we got into the late stages of that game, it felt like Tatum was having one of those games where Joe Sway was calling him, superstar after Game 7 against the Raptors, and I was like, I'm not ready to obviously go there yet. And then I was almost like, well, Joe Sway might have a little bit of a point here, the way he was kind of sort of getting his points, but it almost feels like he needs to be the guy late in that game where he sort of gets out of his what's going well for him and what's gotten him into that rhythm before. Because like you said, John,
he really does.
Exactly. His approach changes. He ends up I don't know if he's just staring at the clock waiting for his time, but like you said, John, he gets so far away from the basket where it gets to the point where there's only so many options you have, and it gets to just be flailing a 3-point shot up. It's so bad.
I know. And look,
it was.
And this is the difference between good Tatum and bad Tatum is really, and it's an eye test thing where, the line is going to look at the last 3 games. It's like 29, it's like a triple-double with 29 points in Game 6, and he sucked. Then 29 points in Game 7, and he played well in shooting 9 of 23, I believe, and I'm pulling these off the top of my head. But a similar line in Game 7, but it seemed like he was taking what the game was giving him in that game. And then here, 30 points, roughly the same, 10 of 24 shooting, but we're killing him down the stretch for these possessions. And again, you want to be the man, you got to be the man. So you got to take the heat here. And when you needed a bucket, where you needed him to do something, late in the game, you had too many of those awful types of shots that were just really low percentage, even though that's his game. That's what he makes,
I mean, that's what he makes. But and again, I'm not disappointed because of what we saw in overtime. He did that in the fourth quarter, but we also have to remember who he's playing against here. Jimmy Butler he grabbed his lunch like it was nothing. That's what Jimmy Butler does. That's one of the best on-ball defenders. That's what Tatum has to go through throughout a best-of-7 series.
So then give it to somebody else.
But the Celtics have to do a better job defensively, man. The 3-point shooters, well, I'm sure we'll get into it in a couple seconds here, but, I mean, in that overtime stretch, the Celtics could have closed that one out. I don't think it was one of those games where it was a coin flip, And, again, Tatum's approach, he ran into some really good defense.
Yeah, you take a 4-point lead early in that overtime period, and Tice fouls out. And I'm telling you guys, this is my prediction early in the series. Tice is going to foul out of every game in this series. Miami draws top 5 fouls in the league. That's how Jimmy Butler makes his money. He's going to go right at him. I thought Butler was going to single-handedly get him out of the game. And then you see Brad. Do I go Williams? None of the backup centers were a good option tonight. I don't think any of them match up well with Miami, which is a tricky position to be in. So that's when we get to Hayward and how that could ultimately change things. But the center position right now is all Miami.
Yeah. I mean, Tice did fine. Adebayo was not. I mean, he was fine. He wasn't dominant. I mean,
he took the game over when he needed.
Late he did, but for the most part, that was not. Tice did perfectly fine. I looked at one point at the line there, just Tice's line. He had scored 2 points and he was plus 20. Okay, so the Tice minutes against Adebayo were going fine. He only finished with 4 points and 4 rebounds, okay? That he did not statistically have much of a game, but his presence in there mattered.
Presence mattered. And if he was in the game towards the end, Adebayo might not have been meeting Tatum at the rim.
Yeah. You had the seal, you're right, yeah.
But exactly. We needed a Tice seal. That was it. Jeez.
I never thought I would say that during this series, but yeah.
Honestly, I was thinking of starting a CLNS bracket of Celtics things, and I guarantee in the finals it would have been Tice Seal versus Cobra Strike.
This is Wanamaker steal.
Tatum step back, whatever.
Yeah.
Cobra Strike versus Tice Seal would have been what the real connoisseurs would have picked.
We had a few other issues too. I mean, Jaylen Brown with the clear lane, he loses that.
And again, he's bringing it back for a big dunk here.
Right,
and
he's
again,
thinking about the dunk.
Just get there and get to the rim and get the contact. He's winding it back, and he lost it on a clear pass.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Kemba Walker is down to one style of shot that he hits, which is the drive to the hoop, step back, elbow jumper. That's all he has right now.
Guess who scores on the other end after that play? Jay Crowder. Come on.
And that was the other one. The Tatum possession that we forgot about is the awful step back 3 when Harrow who leaked out on that one.
And Adebayo did, didn't he?
Yeah. somebody leaks out because there's no coverage, there's no deep safety on that one. Tatum's the last guy there because he's shooting it from 30 feet with the clock winding down, and somebody leaks out and another easy bucket there. So terrible
by 3, and then Brown got the putback on Grant.
And thank goodness for the Brown tip in, or else that was ball game early.
Yeah. So the bad possessions piled up here.
A lot of them. Yeah.
And then, Grant can't be heaving a 3. I know it was an open shot, but it reminds me of game 4 or game 3. Yeah, game 3 down the stretch against Toronto where Tice is taking a 3 in crunch time. It's like,
I know.
We're in the game, but it's not a great shot late.
That 3 looked like his game 7 free throws. Yeah. Okay,
the same spot.
that's what I thought. He kind of puked it out. Like it really wasn't like a confident stroke.
He's like, tight. That's what it is. They get tight in the late portions of these games and then themselves. And we've seen it for about 4 games now between the last 2 rounds. They can't execute late in the game. And tonight it was more defense than it was offense. But the offense didn't help the defense, as you said, John. Like it allowed Miami to get out on the run.
Yep.
What is it about the late game execution, Bob? Because this was one of your key things, and I read your game 1 preview. You said you want to see Boston be able to execute a close game late, and it almost feels like 4 minutes hits on a game clock, and they turn into a pumpkin.
Yeah, it was the 6-minute mark in this game. Smart hit that 3 week out after his great stop, and Smart so good again tonight. But then it's just a lot of isolation, and there's a disconnect between Brad and the players because I hear Brad say, we can't go isolation, we can't do this, we can't do that. And then the late portions of the game, the offense falls into that. It's just a lot of one-on-one, straight-line drives, pull-up threes, and the ball isn't moving side to side. It's not moving inside out, and they're just not extending possessions and moving the ball the way they can. Like, it's just a lot of singular guys trying to end the game the easy way. And fatigue, maybe it plays into it. I'm not going to go in that direction, but you will.
It's not. Go ahead, Josue. Yeah.
What'd you make of the zone? Because I thought it was different from what we saw from Toronto because you had the bigger guys up top because they can guard the perimeter. They can keep up. I think that's a big eye on the series.
Yeah, there were stretches where it worked, but in the first half especially, I thought they were all over it. They found Smart.
Toronto's was tougher. Yeah. Toronto's zone gave them way more problems than what they did tonight. Yeah.
I thought the Celtics got a ton of offensive rebounds out of it, so that one wasn't huge for me. It's a little gimmicky from Miami, and they're good at it.
Yeah, it's not like the way Toronto runs it. It's just different, yeah.
Yeah, you got to be able to rebound out of it. You got to be able to get to the corners, and Marcus Smart made them pay. I think Marcus Smart has a great sense of how to break these zones. And just
Jalen had a big rebound too, yeah.
Yeah.
But Jalen kind of disappeared late in the game, and it felt like they weren't going to him at all. I mean, he had that offensive rebound putback, which was very nice, but I mean, the way that the looks that Tatum was getting were awful. Kemba couldn't get anything going. I mean, I've been a critic of Brown's shooting overall, but Smart or Brown, I feel like would have been good options.
Yeah, Jimmy, that's been the season though. Whenever Brown steps up big down the stretch, he literally walks into those situations. Remember the offensive rebound, taps back. Jalen, it's sort of the Celtics' MO to turn to those guys, whether it's Kemba Walker or Jason Tatum, and I just think that's just. That's how it goes, and I think if you magnify, which I'm sure we're going to keep doing all series long, late game execution, we're going to find out that that's been a pattern all season long between those two guys. And Mark a little bit as a ball handler.
It's a different Brown now, right? Though I mean, since the bubble has resumed, this is a Brown that should be looked at, for better or for worse, as a more consistent shooter, a more go-to guy. I mean, it doesn't have to be Jason Tatum dribbling out the clock at the half court mark.
I'm still surprised you're saying this right now. I thought you were against the whole setting him up for shots because you didn't like his shooting percentage.
When he's 2 for 15,
before Game 7, when I was
he didn't like 30 shots.
No, but what you like about
him,
yeah,
give it to somebody else. But when he might be a forgotten guy out there in the court, Brad Stevens needs to get a little bit more creative than getting the ball to Jason Tatum and watching him dribble out the clock.
But what you like about Jaylen Brown is, again, he had those couple of games where the threes weren't falling, but he's shooting 80% from 2. Ultimately,
right, you
want Jalen going to the basket here.
Exactly, like Jimmy
more.
Butler did. What did Jimmy Butler do to Jason Tatum?
And again,
he shot 48% from the floor, not from 3, from the floor, because he would take those shots.
Yeah, so I mean, you want to see more of that, and you didn't really get it enough today from Jalen for sure.
For me, Kemba,
Jimmy Butler.
But
Sorry, Bob.
Go to it, Bobby, because that's where I want to go to. Right now, we're looking at like 4 straight games of awful Kemba Walker.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. Like, Kemba isn't just not himself. Kemba's killing them. Like, Kemba's killing the Celtics right now. He's taking them out of their offense. He's dribbling the crap out of the ball. He's trying to find that space, the thing that works for him. But he can't do it. I mean, that one late in the game where he got stopped, I think it was late in regulation where it might have been OT. I can't remember.
It was
he kind of and then he got into the lane, and then he stopped, and he got blocked, and it was a shot clock violation. That was freaking awful. He held the ball for 22 seconds of that possession, then got by a guy, and then kind of stopped and waited for people to catch up. He's just killing right now, you know?
Yeah, he got a similar possession in the corner, too, where he got trapped, and then he dumped out to Tice, who made a good play that tied the game. It was a big reason they went to overtime late, was Brown's three-pointer there. So he faces a ton of pressure. He really does.
Then get rid of the ball. Just swing. There's too much dribbling.
This is Tatum and Kemba. The second Bam comes up and attacks him on the pick and roll, they got to get
rid of it. They get pushed out, and it's just a disaster. Right.
You know who could help there? Enes Kanter. He could.
Oh, no, Bobby. Careful.
Don't do it to yourself, Bob.
You don't want to go there, Bobby. You
can't be the guy because you wouldn't expect it to be me, but he's a guy who's going to shoot right out of that pick and roll and be at the basket.
Yeah, but emotionally, you can't handle that many Kanter minutes, Bobby, so you have to be careful what you ask for here.
Bobby's talking like
I'm worried about your well-being, not what happens in the game.
Were you surprised he played 0 minutes tonight?
A little bit. I thought there'd be some Kanter minutes.
It's a different matchup, Josue. I think he can handle Bam better than a Serge Ibaka or Pascal.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see him in game 2. It wouldn't shock me. But I mean, look, back to Kemba. I just wanted to say this one last thing. I also think defensively they're putting the pressure on him, which is what we saw from Toronto. But it's like another level right now. Whether it's putting him in situations where he has to make that decision in coverage. I think there was one play where he got caught down low. Miami was quick to get it to Bam in the mouse in the house situation. He got caught in that a couple of times in that third quarter. And I think when the shooters started going off, that's when Miami would pretty much they just hung around the entire night and they never went away.
I mean, this is obvious second guessing, but I mean, when the Celtics call a timeout there at the end of the game and they put in their lineup, that would have been a situation where you could have had Kanter out there on that final play. And again, that's a situation where maybe he takes Bam away from the rim, right? And Tatum maybe doesn't get stuffed that way. I mean, unbelievable block, but you obviously we're playing armchair quarterbacks right now. That's the whole point. And I'm sure Brad Stevens will rack his brain over what he could have done differently, lineup wise down the stretch or on that final play.
We've seen Kanter destroy Olynyk too, and I think they're scared of that pick and pop. Like you saw, Rob was in the game early, and the second Olynyk came out of there, they pulled him right out for Tice, and that's a little thing that extends Tice's minutes as fouls there too. So they got to find a better way to stagger these 5 minutes. We're constantly wondering about the Hayward return, and eventually I think they're going to go 5 best in the series and just pull the center out entirely, but we're so far away from that at this point, it feels like.
Again, we talked about it a little last game, and I know Brown said it, but Stevens. But I just think it's fool's gold here to count too much on Hayward. Again, really right now, the Hayward minutes aren't going to Semi or to someone else. They're just being spread out to Smart, Tatum, and Brown more. So really, he's gonna bite into a little bit of the bench and some of their minutes. But do you think he's going to be more effective at whatever 75 or 80% than those guys playing more minutes? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you're going to expect from him coming off of this injury.
It's a good point.
And somebody pointed out, actually, it was funny. Steve Bulpett was on with the Celtics beat guys, and Bobby, you listened to this podcast too, and he said something really interesting. He said that no matter what happens, Stevens' handling of the Hayward situation, if the Celtics lose this series, is going to be scrutinized. Okay? Yep. If he brings him back and he plays him too little, if he brings him back and he plays him too much and he mucks up what's going on there. So you got to worry about that too. It's, and it's a good point. And again, who cares what the fans say? But ultimately, how he meshes and how it works in there and whether he's effective and whether you let him play his way back in.
Now that you lose game 1.
Yeah, when you let him play his way back in and you don't have much of a luxury and you're down a game, that's going to be a thing, that it's going to be heavily scrutinized. Yeah.
No one's even talking about Hayward tonight if they win game 1. We're just laying back. We got the lead.
Yeah. Woo!
But yeah, John,
which LA team are we playing? Joe Sway would be mad that he couldn't go out to LA for it,
Hey, don't forget the team was clicking on all cylinders with Hayward. It wasn't like it was Hayward working his way back. This isn't going to be like a last year situation.
No, I just don't think he'll be that good. I think you're playing with an 80% Tatum, and then it's how much do you play him?
He sprained his ankle. He didn't break his leg. There's a big difference there. Return.
Well, I mean, those sprains can be way worse. I mean, geez, Louise, those really bad sprains sometimes linger for 8 and 9 months where you don't feel anywhere close to yourself. And again, these are
short-term thing. That's what
Dr. John, everybody.
Well, I mean, we've all played really crappy, YMCA level basketball. Those sprained ankles are killers, man.
Yeah, my cousin sprained his ankle grade 3 about a month ago. He's never going to be the same.
They always say the analysts don't know what it's like to be a pro, but John's got a lot of experience here. Sprained ankles.
I've sprained
the Greek league. Maybe.
You don't have to be good at basketball to sprain an ankle. You could literally do it walking. You can literally do it walking out of bed. It hurts, and it takes a really long time to come back from it. It's hard. It's explosion. It's cutting. They're professionals.
I'm with you, but I think also, how can we not forget what we saw from Gordon Hayward? Obviously it's a different injury, but I just think mentally he was out of it for quite some time. I'm not saying the same thing's going to happen this time around, but I mean, look, if the bench wasn't so thin, I would be more against it than for seeing more Hayward this series. But because the bench is so thin, I'm not against it, but I don't have my expectations.
The interesting thing tonight, too, is the bench didn't kill them offensively. Wanamaker 9 points.
Wanamaker was great.
Wanamaker kind of gave you some Gordon-esque minutes, so I mean.
Yeah, but defensively they melted down.
I think Wanamaker only played 25 minutes, I think.
Yeah, he played over 20.
Yeah.
They rode him because Kemba was struggling. And, Tatum had a stretch down the bench.
That's what.
He's talking about controlling the pace compared to what Kemba was doing, man.
You know what? And going back to your point, what you guys can do during these Kemba minutes is you could run the offense with Smart and the 3 wings when Hayward comes back and give the guy a friggin' break a little bit, because when he's going bad, you can't un-Kemba that offense. When he's in there, he's going to do what he's going to do. And when you have games like this, it's almost better to not have him out there at times. It stinks. It stinks that that's the case, but right now he's a freaking mess.
Yeah, but when you have Marcus Smart making threes and,
I'm saying I would run Smart and also defensively, that lineup is freaking killer. So if you're not relying on Kemba's offense because he's not providing it, you may have seen a closing lineup of Smart and the 3 wings, with Tyson there theoretically tonight.
The tricky thing there, though, is that Smart early in the game was getting a lot of his action off the ball, and then once he got on the ball,
no, I know. Yep.
It was a mess. And that's another big reason Miami got back into the game. Let's throw it back to the first quarter, because you watch that first quarter, game over. The way the Celtics were swarming defensively, they only built an 8-point lead, but Miami couldn't get anything to go.
No, it did look like they were too much for Miami.
Yeah, they were just all over them defensively. They couldn't get any life. Quality possessions, quality shots, and it feels like a million years ago now. It was a whole different game. And it's when you rotate into that bench, it's when Smart started feeling himself a little bit too much. And he didn't do it at the end of the game, but doing what Tatum and Kemba and some of the other guys did at the end of the first is what let Miami back into this game. Just 3 terrible possessions in a row.
Yep.
And we said this about Miami. They're like Toronto in the sense that they're extremely tough.
And annoying.
They play really good defense. They're not going to give up. They've got a good bench. I mean, have we mentioned Tyler Hero tonight? Holy shit. That dude is killer, man.
I remember, we dedicated time in the post-game show when they played in one of the bubble games during the regular season, just on every time I see Hero and then I see sad droopy-faced Langford not playing a minute, it's just impossible to not get mad.
Because, John, they not
you have to make that comparison. Huh?
No, but it is. I mean, it's not their fault. They didn't pass on him, but they wanted him so badly, and they just missed him. Imagine how different this team is with Harrow coming in and play. Are we lamenting Hayward right now if you're giving those minutes to Harrow? Oh my God!
And I talked to some people.
We're begging Hayward to not pick up his option if Hare is on this team.
Some people think it would have gone a little differently in Boston than it did, and that's fair, but
yeah, there'd be fewer minutes to go around. I mean, I guess, but I mean, he cracked a. It's a pretty. I mean, I mean, you had Duncan on the bench. You know,
it's better than Langford at a minimum.
It's better than Langford.
And you know what? We saw Danny. It makes you second guess. He never would have done it. He probably didn't know he was this worth it, but the level of promise he's shown beyond just being a good bench player. I mean, he goes 40, creates a little bit, shoots. You know, there's no question about his shooting. But would you have offered all those first-round picks that they had to get up? Because it would have taken an offer like that.
No, I would trade back and get more friggin' Carson Edwards types. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, steal of the draft. I don't even want to start.
Proven college players who showed in the tournament.
During the Memphis game, we did the Brandon Clark versus Grant Williams thing, too. I mean, it's just, I don't know. This isn't the time to talk about
John,
this.
you know I didn't want to air that one. You know I didn't want to air that video. You made us.
That
was the most lopsided debate I've ever been a part of in my life.
I know.
But it was actually sad. I think you did it just to I think you watched that and cried a little bit. You just wanted to
I wanted to express myself through you guys.
You wanted to be more upset about how bad the picks were, and you wanted to rub it in. You wanted the comment section to be like, "Are you guys serious? It's not even close. This is the worst draft ever."
Yeah.
Think what a central difference it is in this series, too. I mean, they get Kendrick Nunn, unheralded rookie, undrafted, who's in the Rookie of the Year conversation, Duncan Robinson, who's the best shooter by far in the NBA this year, on top of Hero. And the Celtics have Romeo buried on their bench. When Grant gets a few good plays, we go crazy.
I know. Imagine Hero and Brandon Clark on this team right now. And again, you'd feel really good about your bench right now, you know? You'd come in, you'd be athletic, you'd be active, you'd be shooting, you know? And again, we talked bench depth entering the playoffs, and the bench has acquitted itself fairly well, at least in the first series. But
relatively.
Now you're trying to now it's 40 minutes for everybody, you know?
I mean, Tyler Hero was one assist away from a triple-double tonight. I mean, come on. What are we even doing here? He's good, but damn. And can I say one thing?
No.
How the F did the Celtics make Jay Crowder look like LeBron James out there? I mean, what the hell? The guy had 22 points tonight. I mean, Jay Crowder is nothing more than an average forward he should not be scoring 22 points on his former team.
Jag.
Celtics fans don't want to hear it, but he's just another guy.
A jag.
He's a jag, and the fact that he scored 22 points tonight is the reason you lost the game. That's the reason you lost the game. Jay freaking Crowder is the reason the Celtics lost this game. 22 points.
He hit some tough threes.
Best battle of his career, though. I mean, I'm not surprised. that momentum means a lot. You know, teams are clashing in game one. So this
Marcus
chance
Smart, Jaylen Brown, those guys should have Jay Crowder circled on every single game. I'm going to shut this guy down because he's my former teammate. He probably was. He probably thought he was better than me. He probably bowled me around out there and took my minutes, and I'm going to shut him down and prove that I'm better.
Crowder's the one that has shit circled. Wait till Hayward comes back.
I know he does.
Crowder's going to eat him alive after those Gordon Hayward come to Boston chants, and then
no way you can key in on Crowder either. I mean, look at the five guys they're putting out there. You need a guy in Robinson's face at half court. Butler's a given. Bam's a given.
But Jay Crowder, give him credit, man. He's a killer. He's the killer that the Celtics needed to have that killer mentality that Jay Crowder has, man.
He's in the same position Marcus Smart is, where he's the fifth guy on the floor who's always going to be open in rotation. And this comes down to, is Crowder going to make those open shots? Is Smart going to make those open shots? It was pretty close tonight.
Yeah, I guess in a way, I don't think he's an X factor, but he's the type of guy that when he's on like he was tonight. When he's on like he was tonight, the Heat are a very, very tough team to beat. That being said, we can go back to it. The Celtics blew a 14-point fourth quarter lead. So, I mean, I don't know how much stock you guys are putting into game one. I picked the Celtics in 6 before, obviously, this game. Obviously, it's tougher when you drop game one, but I'm still confident that the Celtics can beat this Heat team. I just think, again, it's that fourth quarter late game execution that they need to figure it out. Yeah. Who wants the ball?
How you feel? Who do you have, Joe Sway, in this one?
In this game or the series?
Series.
I had the Celtics
I'm picking the Heat by 3 in this game.
I had the Celtics winning it, and again, I'm not upset with how Tatum ended that game. I just think it could have been a lot worse, and I select the Celtics' chances in this series because I think the Celtics, there's a better chance that they'll win 4, out of 7 in those head-to-head matchups. Like I don't see this happening again in Game 2.
I don't know. I was pretty. I hate fence sitting. I normally like to figure something out. I couldn't wrap my mind around this series. It's a dead coin flip for me. And again, I was obviously supremely confident against Toronto before it started, while it was going on, even when the Celtics were losing.
I was too.
I never felt there was a chance the Celtics would lose that series. Never.
Right.
And this one, I think it really is a dead coin flip. And I don't think it'll be one of those where, even when they do lose, you'll be like, how did they lose to Miami? I think it's a tough matchup for them. I really do.
It's a tough matchup, but Miami has some issues too. We talk about the zone.
They're beatable.
They're going to lean.
They're beatable.
I don't think
of course they are.
It's the Celtics. I don't think it is. So those are sets where you got to take advantage because you have shooting, you have passing, and you have rebounding. The offensive rebounding for the Celtics has been carrying them since Game 7. Played a big role in that game. I thought it was awesome again tonight. It kind of swung both ways for certain segments of this one. But they have the hustle plays. They can find their spots in the defense. And, when you have guards like Miami did guarding Tatum for the first half of this game, it's got to be money all day long for him. And it was in that first half. Here's the thing. We're going to kill Tatum for the end of the game, and rightfully so. But throughout the course of the game, he is a playmaker. He is a shot creator.
Great.
And driving this team. And when Kemba's been so low, they've needed it. And, I didn't want to fly the flag and shoot the confetti after Game 7 and call him LeBron, but I get why people did it because he's in such a big position.
I didn't call him LeBron. Vibes. All right.
Oh, the wrong vibe. Right. Okay.
Well, if they get to the finals, he's going to really need him.
That's why I don't have a problem with him taking those shots at the end of the game. You have to have a guy like that in the playoffs if you're going to make a push to the NBA Finals. And Tatum's that guy. We've anointed him as that guy, and clearly Brad Stevens agrees. Down the stretch, getting the ball.
That's the point. That's why it's frustrating to see him completely flip in the final minutes like that when everything he's doing for the first, let's call it 42 minutes of the game are great. Bobby just went into it, and then I don't know if something goes off in his head where he feels like, okay, I need to be the closer now, and I need to do it this specific way, and he kind of loses sight of what got them to that point. I don't know what it is, but and I'm not going to trash the guy. I'm not going to trash him for that. I still think he's a superstar in the making, but at some point you got to hit those superstar shots that if you want to be included in that list of guys.
Tatum said that game. You liked the shot.
Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, he said he liked both his shots.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Butler kind of had a tough game offensively, but he was the guy down the stretch that the Heat. He went, yeah, exactly. Right.
But then he hits the big three, and then he hits the and one.
Hits the big three, hits the and one.
Classic Butler.
Yeah.
Because he's never had a cast like this, though. He's
shut out the whole game, and then he comes up with the big stuff late. He does that all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
You know who I really miss?
Tatum on him too, which the Celtics get. I think matchup wise, you look across the boards defensively for the Celtics. You love Tatum on Butler. You love Brown on Crowder. Not tonight, but in general, yes. Even Tice can handle Bam as long as he's not in foul trouble. I just think the one issue you run into is Goran Dragic. We haven't even talked about him.
We haven't. He was so pesky, man.
Oh, he gets where he wants. He gets anywhere he wants, and Smart's on him. Think of that.
Yeah.
Man, he was pesky tonight. I'll tell you what. He was that guy that was their consistent offensive player throughout at least in that first half when they were really, kind of struggling, right?
It was one miss by the Celtics. He shoots in a straight line, transition, scores. Another stop, he shoots and scores. Like transition, he's automatic, and you're not helping yourself by giving him those opportunities. Like you're just feeding him again and again and again on those. He converts his threes. This guy, he's going to be one of the more underrated guys in the league. You just don't hear people talk about him. And when he's healthy and when he's rolling, he can do some serious damage. You had the
that was a problem. His health.
Yeah, so he's going to be a problem. And he's giving Smart a little bit of fits out there, too, it looks like.
Yeah, I'm telling you guys, man. Between him and Kemba, I love Dragic in that matchup between the two. I just think he's way more flexible in what he's able to do. I mean, Kemba just seems really constrained. He seems like he's just out of whack, out of sync. Not only just from offensively, from his perspective, but just overall, it's almost contagious. It's almost he's doing the Celtics more bad than good.
That's what I mean. You almost wish you could give him a little break. Sit a couple plays out. You can't really. What are you going to play Wanamaker in the crunch? It's
Well, you always think he's going to turn around the second half. He's going to hit those big shots. He hit one of them, but he didn't keep it going.
I said that about Jaylen Brown against the Raptors, and you said no. You just got to keep play through him. So it's the same thing with Kemba. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with him offensively, but I mean, I find it hard to believe that you're better with him out there.
No, it's not. It's just with the Jaylen thing. I think it was different because we were just saying he's getting open looks. He's just missing them. But ultimately, what are you going to do? Pass up a wide open corner three? That's your shot. You got to take it. If you don't take it, what's the point of being out there? The offense worked to get you that shot. You have to shoot it. You just got to start making them at some point. But it's you can't pass those up. If you're cold and you're just still jacking contested threes, that's a different story. Kemba's just approach right now is off. Well, he's just holding the ball too long. He's dribbling himself out of trouble. He's killing the clock. He's forcing bad shots late in the clock, or surrounded by people because he's just hanging on to the ball too long. He has to have a different approach right now, and that's the difference. It's not that if he got by people, got to his spot, missed a bunch of elbow jumpers, you'd be like, all right, well, he got to where he wanted to go. Those are going to fall. He's just a mess right now. He's a mess.
What do you guys think about what Brad did down the stretch, offense, defense with Kemba? Kemba hit the big shot, but then he pulls him because he doesn't trust him out there defensively. You think that's going to mess with his head a little bit?
I don't.
No. I mean, he's got to know the situation there. I mean,
Brad
knew he had a timeout, and he was going to put him right back in that game.
And
I'm not upset with it. I'm not upset with it. I mean, Kemba got torched in some games.
I'm not upset with it. I just think it might. I don't know.
I'm upset.
So at the end of overtime, they got a decent defensive stand there. Butler made a ridiculously tough shot going baseline, and Tatum's all up on him. He fouls him. And then going back the other way,
Bam got that block, man. That was
unbelievable.
And then after that, the Celtics got a really good look. It was just like the end of Game 6. They landed a heave. I thought Tatum got fouled there, and then he gets up and just rims it out. Or
I know.
That was wild because he literally hit the floor, got up, and still got the shot off. I mean,
it was
a
great play, and that's a perfect start by pass by Smart in that situation too. In fact,
unreal.
The other way around last time, but. You're not gonna win on that. So
I didn't like. You know what? The Celtics would have had a timeout. I didn't like that challenge that Brad made on the block charge there.
You gotta use them. We've been killing them. We've been killing them for not.
Start being, he's got to be aggressive with those. Start using those.
I know we've been killing them for not using them. So if it's a coin flip, give it a shot.
That wasn't a coin flip. I mean, how many times did they reverse a block charge like that when you're driving in the lane?
I don't know. It feels like every single time someone challenges a Celtics play, it's reversed or it's a jump ball. They're like 0 for 12.
Yeah.
I walk out of the room. I guarantee someone's going to be jumping center.
At least
a jump ball. Best case scenario.
3-point foul in the night on it.
Hey,
yes,
guys,
and to me that was ridiculous. I thought. I mean, listen. Yeah, you may have grazed the ball, but you hit the hand simultaneously there. I mean,
I thought Celtics got the benefit of some really, really weak ass calls for a lot of the night.
I mean, the inbounds technical free throw was wild.
That was crazy.
That was unbelievable.
Hey, they've gotten hit with that too, though. You got to know when that.
I know
because some teams have gotten burned by that.
We're killing Tatum. Here's Brad talking about Tatum's shots down the stretch here.
Tatum kind of settled for a deep pull-up at the end of regulation, but then he attacked well, and obviously Bam made an incredible play. Were you happy to see him kind of recognize in that moment when he got a second chance the importance of trying harder to set up a good look for himself?
I trust that he'll make the right decision. He's a hell of a player, and when he has the ball, I feel good about it.
That's it. Joe Sway left. Joe Sway went to the bathroom.
I had to grab my charger, man. I was trying to grab this charger for like 20 minutes.
I was like, Leslie Nielsen there. I thought you were
quick
like
clip,
15%.
quick clip there.
If that was Nick Nurse, you would have had time. They weren't the
Right. See, you trust
Don't
your
say Nick
superstar.
Nurse.
That's right, Brad. That's
Take a laugh
right.
every time you say that name.
So the second
God,
one,
drink a Molson.
you loop those two in together. The second one's fine. I don't think anyone can question the second shot, the one in overtime. The first one is it's not even just the shot. The fact that they drained 22 seconds where they could have done something.
Yeah.
Right. That's it. And the fact that they're draining the clock with him standing near half court. It's like, at this point, everybody knows what you're doing. At least try to, keep them guessing at least somewhat, I mean, whether there was no pick, there was nothing to make you think that Tatum wasn't just going to hold on to the ball and hoist it, Yeah. And sure, if it goes in, okay, we're talking about a win, but like it's still a
close,
a tough, way to try to win the game. Like to me, it's just not creative. It's not what Brad Stevens is all about, right? I mean, we've seen Brad Stevens drop some really, really amazing plays. It makes Doc Rivers plays look elementary sometimes. So
yeah, but Brad, I called you Jimmy. When did we used to see those though? Those crazy plays
out of timeouts.
No, I'm saying like with the personnel that he had, right? The Jay Crowders, the Kelly Olynyk's, the Evan Turners, guys that we would say, okay, there's no budding superstar here, right?
No shot.
Now this is the first time he had someone.
Yeah. That's the problem.
But they have multiple guys that they feel like can hit that shot now. They have Kemba.
But it's not just hitting it. You have shot. You have shot creators now. You didn't have that before. Before you had to manufacture it with
Turner taking shots.
Go
with
back
2
to
seconds left.
manufacturing it. Go back to manufacturing because anybody can just do what they did there.
Yeah.
I mean, we could see that. He could revert to that.
Tatum's capable of more himself. Like, you think back 100 years ago when they beat the Knicks on that shot in the corner, like, he makes a good dribble move. I think they ran him around the screen to the corner. They can do some stuff with him there that's just even a little more Celtics-like than that. Like, that's just, they don't do that all game. Do you ever see possession?
That's the thing. They don't do it all game.
We did get spoiled for a bit because Tatum spent 2 months of this season hitting all of those shots, all of them. Ridiculous. People in his face, step back. I mean,
and in a sense, he earns that.
And the net would make this crisp, splashing sound. I mean, he was just dropping these things. And so now, I don't know if it's again the difference between regular season basketball, playoff basketball. They're up a little bit closer. The pressure's a little bit higher, and this stuff's just not falling. So you have to. Again, we were talking about be more aggressive, manufacture your own stuff. You can't just revert to what they reverted to down the stretch here. We've been killing Kemba all game. Here's Kemba killing himself in the post game here. Okay, Josue, go grab a bite if you want.
Kemba, obviously you hit some big shots down the stretch in this game, but you're still not obviously where you want to be. What do you see as being, the rationale, the reason for that, and obviously how do you fix it?
Just playing terrible, to be honest. Not much I can say, but I just have to be better, I have to do more for this team on both ends of the floor. Got to make better decisions. Just got to make shots overall.
Wow,
easy as that.
I'm surprised.
We were joking. I don't know why. Somebody earlier today was looking for a.
I don't know. I thought he was saying more of I than we. Or maybe I didn't hear him correctly. Right?
I feel he put that on himself. I sucked.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he said we. We had to hit shots. Oh, okay. Never mind.
No, he was like.
No, he's saying he does. That's as down as you see Kemba. It's hard to see his face, obviously, with the mask there. But, I mean, he's usually pretty positive. He looks he's frustrated. He's been frustrated on the court, but I think obviously the relief of getting through Toronto. But I mean, him having this rough a game, we thought this would be a little easier on him this series because they wouldn't have the guards to be able to stay with him. He'd be able to get closer to Philly. He'd be able to get where he wanted to be, and that's a matter of knocking down shots. It was the same thing. He looked no different than he did versus Toronto.
So Kemba's not a notorious catch and shoot guy, but what Brad has to do in a situation like this is find a way to make it easier on him.
Yep.
You guys said it. What is he doing all game long? Dribbling around, trying to free himself up, doing a little too much in certain circumstances. They have the ability, they have the personnel to free him for catch and shoot situations. I'm looking at the numbers these playoffs. He gets less than 2 catch and shoot threes a game. And how many do they produce for Grant? Wanamaker even, Tatum sometimes, Smart especially. Like, they can get guys catch and shoot threes in easy positions. And I have no doubt Walker, as a great off-ball mover, can do that too. Like, they got to switch it up and put him in a better position to succeed, because trying to create on the ball right now for him, using the pick and roll is
not working.
Yeah, but Miami's off the ball defense is on another level, man. I mean, I think that's probably where the difference is between the defenses that they saw compared to Toronto. I just think he looked so rattled out there. And then you see what Kemba did. He looked like he picked up a little trick on his own where he pushed, who was it, Marcus, I think, to get that foul for Marcus. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Kemba's starting to, like, try to pick up other ways to be effective, which I give him credit for, but all exclusively off the ball. Because off the ball, if you keep your eye on him, he's going through wall after wall after wall to fight through screens and get to his guys.
Out there, like, that matters.
Well,
I'm wondering if, here he is now at the Eastern Conference Finals, and is he putting a little too much pressure on himself? Like, this is one of the reasons Boston brought me here, and the guys are depending on me. Is he thinking too much out there? Which is, like, that's human nature, right? I mean, he's at this stage. He knows how difficult it's been for him to get here in his career. And is he thinking too much or trying to do too much and not getting back to the basics of what, makes Kemba? Because we still see flashes of it, like I said, like that, drive to the hoop, step back, right at that corner jumper. I mean, that's still one of the more, when I see him take that shot, I think that's going in every time he takes it, right? So there's just, like you said, Bobby, freeing him up for the catch and shoot, or getting him more looks where he's comfortable getting into a rhythm. But again, when the shots aren't falling, these guys got to find a way to get to the line. And I mean, it goes down to, I think they were just trying to play hero ball a bit with these crazy shots instead of just driving to the hoop. Jimmy Butler, drive to the hoop, gets fouled the hard way.
Strong move. Tyler Hero Ball. That's
And let's not
Hero Ball.
pull credit away from the Heat, because
We needed more of that.
what Bam does defensively for them is a big challenge for the way the Celtics want to play. Like, it almost works.
Block the shit out of him at the rim.
Oh, that, and he's
Oh, that and
Oh yeah, that was easy.
we've gone from Joel Embiid sitting in the front row next to Deuce, watching Tatum and Kemba shoot around the pick and roll, to Bam just like being in your face when you get around the other side of the screen. Like, it's a complete 180 from round one.
No.
I'm out of things to say.
You know who I miss? You know who I really miss is Pascal Siakam. Can we just play that guy for?
Yeah, let's just talk about Toronto. Because the Heat, whatever Heat,
all season talk.
First off, Miami's.
Where's Pascal Siakam when you need him?
Just disgraceful right now. The amount of the lack of Miami in this. Toronto had you guys 2-1. I mean, I'm embarrassed for you, but that was to be expected. But I mean, look, we've covered pretty much everything there is to cover here. It's the 14-point lead. You got to close. We can nitpick the hell out of every. We can nitpick the hell out of every single thing that happened here. But ultimately, the Celtics blew a 14-point fourth quarter lead and then just didn't close. They didn't close a game that they absolutely should have closed out. And we can nitpick possessions, 2 possessions, but blowing that lead and getting to not just that 14-point lead in the fourth quarter and 5 points with a little over a minute to go. Close the freaking game.
Close the game.
It's one of those games where one bucket ends it, and you can't do it, or a stop or something. You just. I mean, how do you give away a 14-point? They gave it away easy. I mean,
so right, John. Like. Do it before crunch.
Do it before. We're scrutinizing play by play. And look, Tatum's things tighten up in the game. I feel bad. I almost feel bad for the amount of shit we're giving Tatum, because that's just recent. That's what we have in our head.
And he had a good game.
He played a good game. You don't want to see those shots. You'd love to see it, but that's how these games go. The Celtics aren't the only team out there who gives the ball to their best player, isolates, and asks him to get a bucket late when you need a bucket. It's pretty common.
With Norman Powell.
It's pretty commonplace in the NBA. Yeah, the Raptors did it. Powell's got to get the ball here on Kemba. But
that's the thing, though. That's a desperation move.
It's leading up until there. You don't put yourself in that position. But before that, they had too many shitty possessions leading up to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I mean, like you said, I mean, a 14-point lead against a Heat team that we're not talking about the Warrior. We're not talking about the Splash Brothers,
Brad
right? I
compared
mean,
them to the Warriors.
what's that?
Brad compared them to the Warriors.
I know, but it's not one of those teams where, as you said, where they're just boom, 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 boom. I mean, they got
Right. I mean, the way Hero was shooting, sure, but I mean, generally
even though
speaking,
both teams shot over 40% from three, I think.
That's the way the series is going to go. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
44%, 44% for the Heat. Oh no, Celtics dipped under after all those late misses. 35.7. They were up over 40 for most of the game, though.
So let me give you guys some optimism. I got 2 points. Game
hit
one,
us, Bob.
Game 1 doesn't matter in this postseason. Houston destroyed the Lakers in Game 1. Portland destroyed them in Game 1. You've seen the Clippers get tested by the Mavericks in a Game 1, and even the Celtics, they destroyed Toronto in Game 1 and got brought to the brink in that series. Like, I think they have a ton of adjustment in them, and tonight we've nitpicked the offense, but it was a defensive breakdown in that second half. There was a bigger issue that got them into those situations where the offense broke down.
Right.
And I think you've seen the Celtics have bad defensive games and come back, tighten it up like crazy, and have a fantastic defensive game. So they're definitely capable of that.
Well, there were stretches where they had it. As you said, the first quarter they were swarming, and then they turned it up again in the third quarter.
It was so good. It was the defense they played all year to me.
First quarter was unreal, and then the third quarter again, it was much tougher for Miami in that quarter. I think they scored. They ended up with
in the third quarter.
It was 16 points in the third quarter, 28-16, and then they stretched the lead to 14 early in the fourth. That's got to be lights out, guys. You're a championship, supposedly championship caliber team, and you build yourself a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter. Close the deal,
Yep.
So, all right. Bobby gave us his Game 2 optimism. Josue, looking ahead.
Look, the transition defense, I think it's obviously big in this one, but also I just think getting those, like what we saw in the first quarter, like the Celtics are going to do that again, and it's going to drive me crazy because I think Miami's going to be able to erase it. But just to limit that, and I know it sounds kind of like simple, and it sounds like something that the Celtics should be able to do, but like you said, a 14-point lead can disappear in 3 minutes against the Miami Heat.
Keep your foot on the gas, right?
You have to, exactly. And I'm not saying like Celtics have to go and grab a 30-point lead, but like when the Heat
don't get cocky
back, the Celtics have to hold their own. Like they just get way too loose. They get way too down, and then the Heat just control, or at least they hang around all night long.
Celtics get comfy. They get cocky sometimes. We saw it all Toronto. How many 8 and 9 and 10-point leads could have easily, just with a
20.
little bit more care, a little bit more focus, a little bit more, defensive intensity, or just just running a real offense, have turned it into a 16, 18-point game, and then you're not scrutinizing anything that's happening late. They do that quite a bit. I know the NBA it's a league of runs. They're not the only team that does it, but we've seen it too often from them. I feel like they could have opened up 5 of those 7 Toronto games into double-digit games and ran away and hid, and they didn't.
What's the going stat tonight too? Points in the paint, 48-27 Miami. Showed. They were going for jumpers all night long.
All night. Yep. Jimmy, closing thoughts, and then let's call it.
Closing thoughts are, well, to me, I mean, Game 2 is a must-win now, even though it's, I guess not technically, but I really don't think you want to go down two games to a Heat team that has been playing with a ton of swagger, a lot of confidence, and they have that toughness, and they seem like they have the personnel that just put you away if they really want to. If I'm the Celtics, I got to come out cool, calm, and composed, and they go as Kemba goes. I've been saying it for a long, long time. You see what happens when he struggles. But Kemba needs to be. He doesn't need to be cardiac Kemba, but he can't be like the liability that John's seeing him be out there. He needs to be the guy that can sort of carry this team through the game, give them what they need when they need it, and get guys involved so that we're not just harping on a Jason Tatum shot at the end of the game. Maybe they do find Jaylen Brown in the corner like they were, against the Raptors. So I want to see more guys involved down the stretch, and I think that starts with Kemba.
No, it's crazy. It's that, we're looking at back to Game 4. And you know what? He played Game 6 was pretty good against Toronto, but Game 4 he had that terrific game, and Lowry one-upped him. but it was the 104-103 game. Not one-upped him, but that was
that was an amazing game, yeah.
Terrific game for Kemba all around, had control, got to where he wanted to go, made all the right shots. Then he disappeared. He had that, that game where he was barely there, didn't really attempt many shots, was pretty good in game 5. It was a game 3, sorry. Game 3 that he was terrific.
Yeah, game 3, I was going to say.
Yeah, game 3, rather.
Was 1 of 9.
Everybody sucked in game 4.
Then he had the abysmal game 6. Not so hot again, game 7, and another bad game here. It's really 3 bad games, and you're looking at about 5 of the last 7 where he's really, really been off, And it's so strange because that guy who was there in game 3, it seems like that's accessible. Like he could dig into the bag and be that guy, but for some reason it's just not working for him,
You just don't know who you're going to get in that
going
second.
through a cold stretch.
It's weird.
Going through a cold
It's
stretch.
a long one. So you almost wonder if he's banged up in a way too. That guy.
I don't know, because it feels like he's moving okay, and they're not resting him, and he's playing big minutes. He doesn't
have to.
He's not sitting there with ice on his knee, and he looks fine. Mobility wise, he looks fine.
Yeah. Just
no travel,
really.
no airplanes. I mean,
I don't know. Got to find a way. You're right. You got to unlock Kemba. When you're down Hayward, you can't have bad offensive nights from 2 out of 3 of the remaining big 3 at this point. So
yeah,
and that's it. So, all right. Well, pray for Gordon, I guess.
No, don't.
Yeah.
If you're leaning on that.
Was there any? What's the latest now? Are they any? Everyone's been pretty quiet about when he might.
They're quiet on the departure for the birth now. They're tight about when he's coming back. They keep it on a game-by-game basis. So one day, he's just going to pop out there. But he didn't look great to me still in that shoot run we saw the other day. So I tend to think it'll be a later portion of the series.
I know. It's again, I get it. They don't want to put expectations on him and say, maybe by game 4, and then when he doesn't, it'll be like, that guy's a wuss,
Well, they want to keep Miami off balance, too, which I think is a good thing. Like, out of nowhere, he's just going to pop on the court, and they're going to be like, whoa.
It wouldn't be surprising, right? You get the feeling that it's just he's going to practice and then play.
Yeah. It's going to be out of nowhere.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. We're done.
That's it.
On the game, too. Do we got a time?
I think it's 7:30 or
7 o'clock.
7?
I thought it was 7.
Okay, yeah. I think it could be 7, yeah.
But anyway, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and go to heavy.com. That's where you'll find Joe Sway and all his good stuff. Celtics blog, CLNS Media for Bobby Manning. Jimmy, whoever wants him can have him. Who wants Jimmy?
Don't all jump at once, everybody.
Everybody, come get some.
Jimmy _Toscano. Follow me on the old Twitter, man.
Do that.
Personal brand.
You might be going home tomorrow. Be careful, Clippers.
The question is, did the Heat fans show up?
Here in this?
Barely.
If they win game 2, 1,000%.
There were 3 guys.
There was 3 guys just saying Heat in 4. It's like, cool, man.
Yeah, well, watch if they win game 2.
Series.
It's so sad because
how do you guys like basketball? Was it fun to watch?
Who's scoring the points? Heat in 4. It's like, come on, do better. We got Clippers Nuggets are close at half. Clippers Nuggets are close, 56-54 at half.
All right, let's go watch. Let's go do
watching that Butler driving. It's halftime right now. We're just watching the end of the Celtics game. Look at this block. Oh my God, Bam!
That was a grown man block right there.
And amazing. He doesn't catch any of the arm there.
Guy.
And then he grabs, and then he just grabs the ball after.
That was
the only play Tatum didn't complain about. It was crazy.
I know.
He got 150% of that ball. It was as clean as that gets, So, all right, we're done. Game 2 Thursday. We'll all be back, and we'll see what happens. Miami, show up a little bit, okay? Give us something. See you guys.
Peace.